how to get a sorcerer with 300 hit points. So this is a build of a Draconic Sorcerer Hill Dwarf. So Hill Dwarf gives you +2 con and 1 extra hit point per level. And then Draconic Sorcerer is a d6 plus 1 extra hit point per level. And the AC would be 19 because, well, Hill Dwarves, well, all dwarves are proficient in leather and light and medium armor. So medium armor would be like half plate and shield. You add dex, so you want to put at least 14 as an ASI ability score into dex. So that means +2. So that's 15 plus 2 is 17 plus shield of +2 equals 19. So you'd have a 19 AC, and you'd want to try and max out con. So if you're lucky enough to get an 18 in your roll, which you can, you would get an 18 con and +2 con for the racial ability, which is +2 con with the dwarf. So that's a con of 20. So it's +5 con, so it's +5 hit points per level. And that would be 13 hit points per level at level 1 if your DM allows you to do max hit points, which might be done if it's a hard campaign. So right away, you're getting 13 hit points per level with a potential AC of 19. And then level 4, you would get tough. So you get 15 hit points per level with an AC of 19, because at level 4, it'd be very easy to get half plate and a shield. That'd be very easy for you to get those items. You'd have enough money at level 4. So right away at level 4, you'd have 15 hit points per level. So you'd have 60 hit points and an AC of 19. So that's like fighter. That's like frontline fighter. That's a fighter class right there. You know, that's a D10 plus 5. So you basically be a fighter as a full caster as a sorcerer. So, you know, like by level 8, you've got 105 hit points. And if you make it to level 20, which some campaigns might, admittedly, vast majority don't. But if your DM is committed and you're going to meet and fight some really big bad guy, which in the current campaign I'm in, we're looking at Trask to fight. Some of you know that, some of you don't. If we get to level 20, that would be a 300 hit point sorcerer with an AC of 19 before magical aid, with only taking defeat tough. So, yeah, and especially because the con's maxed out, I think it's you get +2 proficiency. So your con save at level 4 would be +7. So if you were to roll an 8, you would get what? You'd get 15 in your con save. So you'd be very likely to, at that level, save against, you know, your bard and your cleric's shatter, and possibly your own, because your charisma might be a little bit lower. So if you get surrounded by enemies, let's say rogues or anything else, cast shatter on yourself. If they're still up, your bard and your cleric can cast shatter on you, and you might be able to tank some of the hits if you make the con saves. The enemies around you might not, especially if they're rogues, because rogues don't get to evade. They might evade a dex save if they're high enough, but they won't evade a con save if they're high enough, even to make the save. But so realistically, shatter might get 3 shatters on you, depending on if everyone goes first. So you might get 3 shatters right on you. You might be able to tank that level 4, possibly. It's 98, so realistically, it might not work out for you too well. But if you do go down, your cleric and bard can just be like, heal right away. You know, can heal you the next round. So realistically, you could possibly do a lot of damage if you get surrounded. Plus, if you're Hill Dwarf, you would automatically get advantage against poison saving throws, and you have a resistance to poison damage. So if someone casts like Cloud Kill, you have resistance to the damage and advantage against the save. So, plus if you, depending on your racial background or Draconic ancestry background, let's say it's, I don't know, red. I'm not sure which one it is, but say it's red and it's fire. you get an extra, you get your charisma modifier added to the damage to say firebolt or fireball. And if you expand a sorcery point, you get to have resistance against that for an hour when you get to level 6. So at level 6, you'd have like 90 hit points. You would have like, was it +8 to your con save. You would have advantage against poison, or resistance against advantage against poison saves, resistance to poison damage, and resistance to poison to fire damage, and fire damage for 1 hour for 1 sorcery point. So, realistically, you can have a pretty bad sorcerer, a pretty tanky sorcerer, if you follow this plan, assuming you are able to get a 20 con Hill Dwarf Draconic Sorcerer.